Good morning. Hi, I'm Dr. CB, and today I'm going to be reading my notes on microorganisms, Chapter 9. It is Sunday morning, 10:28 a.m. In the previous chapter, we saw how the information stored as a sequence of bases in gene can be transcribed into RNA and then translated to yield specific protein. Most protein are enzymes and carry out the reactions responsible for the cell metabolism. Hundreds of different enzymatic reactions occur simultaneously during a single cycle of cell growth. Microorganisms also respond rapidly to changes in their environment, and many organisms have complicated developmental pathways. To efficiently orchestrate the numerous chemical reactions in the cell, make maximal use of available resources, and carry out developmental processes, cells need to control the expression of their genetic information. Overview of regulation. Some enzymes may be needed to in about the same amount under all growth conditions and are said to be constitutive. Constitutive enzymes are generally cellular enzymes required for growth under all nutritional conditions and are thus synthesized continuously in the growing cell. However, it is far more common for a particular reaction to be needed under some conditions, but not under others. Indeed, under many growth conditions, a cell might not need to carry out a particular reaction at all. For instance, enzymes required for the breakdown of a sugar lactose are useful to the cell only if lactose is present in its environment. Most microorganisms have the genes to encode many more different kinds of proteins than are actually present in the cell under any particular condition. Thus, the need to regulate gene expression in response to changing growth conditions or as part of the development process is clear. How does this type of regulation occur? Major modes of regulation. There are two modes of regulation in the cell. One controls the activity or pre-existing enzyme, and one controls the amount, or even the complete presence or absence, of an enzyme. Regulation of the activity of an enzyme obviously happens after the protein has been synthesized. It is post-translational. By contrast, regulation of the amount of enzyme synthesized can occur at a level of transcription. How much messenger RNA, mRNA is made, or at least a level of translation, whether or not the mRNA is translated to make the protein. Regulation of the synthesis of an enzyme is a coarser level of control and regulating activity. The regulation of activity is typically very rapid, seconds or less, while the regulation of enzyme synthesis is a relatively slow process, a few minutes. If a new enzyme needs to be synthesized, it will take some time before that enzyme is present in the cell, in sufficient amounts to affect metabolism. Alternatively, if the synthesis of an enzyme is stopped, a considerable amount of time may elapse before the existing enzyme is diluted, not sufficiently to no longer affect metabolism. Working together, these metabolisms can result in an efficient regulation of the cell metabolism. Control systems that vary the level of expression of particular genes are the main subject of this chapter. However, the actual number of different regulatory mechanisms is vast, and most genes seem to regulated by more than one. We begin to briefly discussing the process involved in regulating more than one. We begin to briefly discussing the process involved in regulating the activity of preformed enzymes before considering how the synthesis of enzymes is controlled. Regulation of enzyme activity. There are many mechanisms of post-translational regulation. In some cases, an enzyme is synthesized as part of a larger inactive precursor protein, and the enzyme must be activated by removing a portion of the precursor protein. C. Another mechanism is to reduce the level of activity by actually degrading the enzyme molecules. In the next two sections, we discuss reversible and temporary forms of regulation involving less dramatic changes to the enzyme molecule. Excuse me for a second, the lighting is glaring out my book. That's a little bit better. Inhibiting enzyme activity. As mentioned above, some proteins have enzymatic activity until they are processed. It is more common, however, for a protein to be synthesized with full enzymatic activity, and for this activity to be subsequently be reduced or inhibited by certain specific compounds in the cell. These compounds are usually related to the metabolic pathway in which the enzyme functions. A major mechanism for the control of enzymatic activity involves the phenomenon of feedback inhibition. Feedback inhibition is seen primarily in regulation of entire biosynthetic pathways, such as pathway involved in the synthesis of an amino acid or purine. As we have seen, such pathways involve many enzymatic steps, and the final product, the amino acid or nucleotide, is many steps removed from the starting substrate. Yet this final product is able to feed back to the first step in the pathway and regulate its own biosynthesis. How? In feedback inhibition, the amino acid or other end product of biosynthetic pathway inhibits the activity of the first enzyme in the pathway. Thus, as the end product builds up in the cell, its further synthesis is inhibited. If the end product is used up, however, synthesis can resume. How is it possible for the end product to inhibit the activity of an enzyme that acts on a substrate quite unrelated to it? This occurs because of a property of the inhibited enzyme known as the allostery. Allosteric enzyme has two important binding sites, the active site where the substrate binds and the allosteric site where the inhibitor, sometimes called an effector, binds reversibly. When an inhibitor binds generally non-covalently at the allosteric site, the conformation of the enzyme molecule changes so that the substrate no longer binds efficiently at the active site. When the concentration of the inhibitor falls, equilibrium favors dissociation of the inhibitor from the allosteric site, returning the active site to its catalytic shape. Allosteric enzymes are very common in both anabolic and catabolic pathways, are especially important in branch pathways. For example, the amino acids proline and arginine are both synthesized from glutamic acid. Figure 8.4 shows that these two amino acids can control the first enzyme unique to their own synthesis without affecting the others, so that the surplus of proline, for example, does not cause the organism to be starved for arginine. In addition, some biosynthetic pathways are regulated by the use of isozymes, short for isofunctional enzymes. Iso means same or constant. These enzymes catalyze the same reaction but are subject to different regulatory control. An example is synthesis of aromatic amino acids. 3 different isozymes catalyze the first reaction in this pathway, and each enzyme is regulated independently by diminished in a stepwise fashion and falls to zero only when all 3 products are present in excess. The mechanism of feedback inhibition of more than just an academic interest. We will see in Chapter 30 how an understanding of the biochemistry of feedback inhibition allows industrial microbiologists to isolate mutants that have lost the ability to feedback inhibition, the production of specific amino acids. These mutants are then used for large-scale commercial production of amino acids as a food supplement. Modification of enzymes. Several examples are known in bacteria in which an enzyme is regulated by some covalently modified, usually by addition or deletion of some small organic molecule. As in the case of allosteric proteins and covalent binding of the modifying group, changes the conformation of the protein and can dramatically affect its catalytic activity. Removal of the modifying group returns the enzyme to active state. Some examples of covalent modification regulatory systems are known, but the best characterized are enzymes whose activity is affected by attachment of the nucleotide adenosine monophosphate, adenosine diphosphate by attachment of inorganic phosphate, or by methylation. One of the most extensively studied examples of an allostric enzyme regulated by adenylation, addition of AMP is glutamine synthetase, an enzyme that plays a key role in nitrogen metabolism in the cell. Is feedback inhibition by at least 8 different compounds, including several amino acids and compounds involved in nucleotide metabolism. The susceptibility of GS to feedback inhibition is greatly increased, and its overall activity is lowered when cells are grown in media with abundant nitrogen, glutamate. This is caused by adenylation of GS. Each GS molecule contains 12 identical subunits, and each can be adenylated at a particular site. When the enzyme is completely adenylated, it is essentially inactive. When it is partially adenylated, it is partially active. Interestingly, the enzyme that adds and removes AMP is itself regulated by a covalent modification. Covalent modification of enzyme for regulatory purpose, such as the adenylation of GS, readily reversible. However, not all post-translational modification of proteins is reversible. In some cases, the newly translated polypeptide must be extensively processed by become an active enzyme. Control of enzyme activity by feedback inhibition or covalent modification may seem sufficient for regulation of gene expression, but it is not, even though glutamine synthetase is subject to both types of regulation. The level of the GS protein itself is also increased in relation to level nitrogen of the medium. In the remainder of this chapter, we will discuss mechanisms by which cells can control the amount of protein synthesized. Our discussion will primarily be confined to control at the level of transcription. For transcription to occur, RNA polymerase must recognize a specific promoter on the DNA and begin functioning. Regulation of transcription commonly involves proteins that can bind to DNA. Thus, before discussing specific regulatory mechanisms, we will discuss proteins that bind to DNA. Excuse me. There are also a number of proteins that interact with DNA in a sequence-specific manner. These interactions occur by association of amino acid chains. Okay, interaction of proteins with nucleic acids. Protein-nucleic acid interactions are central replication, transcription, and translation, as well as the regulation of these processes. The general kinds of protein-nucleic acid interactions are noted, non-specific and specific, depending on whether the protein attaches anymore along the nucleic acid or whether the interaction is sequence-specific.